My name is Yandera, and I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I am also an affiliate with the Abolition Coalition. Just yesterday, the Postmaster General testified in front of Congress about the removal of mailboxes and mail sorting machines across the country. It's not just about voting in this year's presidential elections or beginning with Trump. Yes, this is a new tactic of the Trump administration to suppress voting rights, but this isn't anything new that we have not seen historically. Racists and anti-workers always had requirements for voting, like literacy skills, ID requirements, or even limiting access to accessible voting areas in rural areas. Or simply the lack of voting booths that create long delays and force working people to make a decision. Exercise your basic democratic right to vote, or miss and lose critical wages. We know and we must clearly state that the demand to save USPS and to fully fund it is a basic democratic demand. As a federal agency, the Postal Service is required to service all homes, including areas that private shipping companies refuse to service because it is not as profitable. Working class people in all areas across the country rely on the post office for sending and receiving mail at an affordable rate, which includes getting access to life-saving medication, communicating to loved ones who are incarcerated, and much more. We are told, while politicians in Congress are working to gut the post office, they make a claim that America is the pinnacle of democracy. We've heard the same story too many times. This abstract notion of democracy has been used to justify war after war. But how can we be the most advanced democracy when so many millions of people are disenfranchised and are unable to exercise their most basic democratic right to vote? But we must also understand this goes beyond voting. In 1970, almost 200,000 Postal Service workers went on strike and won the right to collectively bargain over wages, benefits, and working conditions. They immediately won improvements in all areas. The Postal Service is the single largest source of union jobs in the United States. They nearly employ 220,000 union workers, 21% of which are Black, 37% of which are women. As many of us here know, unions empower us to come together as workers and to fight for justice on the job. It attempts to rebalance the immense power that our employer has over us. It gives us a voice. As a result of this major strike and unionization effort, the Postal Service was reorganized by the federal government to operate like a corporation, facing heavy restrictions that even the most notorious big businesses chains and shipping companies would not face. At the same time, the Postal Service would not receive taxpayer funding. This operation should be recognized for what it is, a corporate scheme backed by both major parties and their corporate funders to intentionally bankrupt the post office. In fact, private shipping competitors UPS and FedEx spent tens of millions of dollars lobbying Congress to gut the federal agency. In 2006, the Bush administration signed the Postal Accountability Act and Enhancement Act, requiring USPS to pre-fund 75 years of future retiree benefits, meaning benefits for workers that aren't even born yet, or children that do not exist. This required them to set aside $110 billion, and as a result, they have seen no profit since 2006. This act was passed by an overwhelming majority of Congress on both sides of the political aisle, both Democrat and Republican, 410 in favor and 22 opposed. One of those senators who voted for that favor was Joe Biden. This law laid the groundwork for the new heightened attack on the Postal Service in attempts to privatize it, facing job and service cuts year after year. So why is it that an essential service like the post office being mandated to basically go bankrupt when it's a well-known fact that companies like Amazon do not even provide basic benefits to their employees? The 2006 law also mandated that the Postal Service could not increase their prices by more than a couple cents a year, regardless of inflation or growth. With inadequate federal funding, this was by design to destroy the post office by both major parties who overwhelmingly supported the bill and both advocated that it would be better privatized because it's a drain on the country. Drain on who? Drain on the private corporations like UPS and FedEx who spent $42 million lobbying those same politicians who are attacking this essential service. It is projected that in 2023, they will still be able to deliver 45% of Amazon shipments throughout the country. The same business that Jeff Bezos and other billionaires were able to make $600 billion richer during just the first few months of the pandemic, where most people couldn't and still cannot afford to pay their rent, afford COVID testing, or basic necessities. They achieve gains while we lose our jobs and the government is readily available to bail them out while we suffer. So I ask, is the Postal Service really a drain on this country like politicians want us to believe? It is an essential service that requires a service to every community. Without the Postal Service, private companies will not deliver to companies that they deem unprofitable and jack up prices. The Postal Service is the largest unionized employer in the United States. They are the most racially diverse compared to the rest of the U.S. labor force. In 18 states, women make up more than half of the workplace. You would think that this is the labor force that would be supported. Instead, thousands of mailboxes are being removed and they are under constant threat. Today, Trump and the Republican Congress, instead of providing any relief other than a single $1,200 check, is devoting their time and their resources rejecting any new relief bill if it includes the USPS. The economic system leaves no stone unturned when it comes to making another dime. That is why I'm out here today and to demand an end of attacks on the Postal Service. That's why I'm a socialist and I believe the right to every job should be a human right and not by under constant attack by the rich. Before I leave, I just want to end off with a chant. When workers, sorry, my Face ID doesn't get recognized because of the mask. When workers' rights are under attack, what are we going to do? Stand up, fight back. When workers' rights are under attack, what are we going to do?